As the moon entered Sagittarius today and began the two-day trigger of Trump's Neptune problem, we learned about a poll, a so-called straw poll, in which Ron DeSantis of Florida emerges ahead of the Orange Menace. Although it is labeled unscientific even by those conducting it, nevertheless it measures the opinion of Republican activists, and apparently it is those types of individuals who tend to reflect the upcoming overall mood of the general public voters. Given that most Republicans continue to kiss the ring of the Mar-a-Lago menace, we will see whether this is a false flag or a growing trend. But as has already been opined in an article, even just this poll is liable to rankle Trump, since he doesn't like to be second to anyone, and his pattern has always been to attack whoever tries to take away his number one spot. DeSantis has been one of Trump's most ardent supporters, and in fact built his entire political candidacy through a very Trumpy approach, both in his own actions and in frequently expressed loyalty to the mob boss. However, it appears to be no secret his ambitions go really high, since he fancies himself a presidential candidate in 2024. First, I'll say that this chart-to-chart planet comparison is yet another example of dynamic, stimulating contacts that work really well until they don't. Ron's Sun at 21 degrees Virgo is in a pretty tight square to Trump's Sun, Uranus, and Moon, and his Mars hits the Saturn-Venus 12th house conjunction pretty tightly as well. So whatever benefit the Aquarius Moon might bring in aligning well with Trump's Sun and Moon, or the Venus trine to Trump's Mercury, or the support offered by the Saturn-Mercury conjunction to Trump's Mercury, can be overturned overnight if the Orange Menace decides to put DeSantis in the same camp he once put Ben Carson in when he became an electoral threat, or likewise Ted Cruz when he felt him nipping at his heels. You have already heard me say repeatedly that I see Trump's future prospects in all areas as dim to none. The long-term transits of Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Eris are simply too unfavorable, particularly in context of the way this guy plays, because although he says he's a brilliant player and a winner, he's actually a very mediocre human being and a total loser. So the idea of future successes in politics is, to my mind, completely farcical. But what about DeSantis? Well, last July I posted a video on this guy and concluded his prospects for 2022 or 2024 didn't look good to me, and I'm sticking with that analysis. So though Ron may be the emergent darling of the Republican activist base, I don't see him winning in 2024, and in fact, I see a strong possibility he may lose his governorship in 2022. However, in conclusion, though perhaps small potatoes in the big picture, the poll putting DeSantis above the Orange Menace is the main point to this video, since it correlates with the moon trigger of Trump's Neptune transit, which, among other things, most of which admittedly are bigger, relates to the fading and eventual dissolution of celebrity power and popularity, which are key subjects in Neptune's domain. And I think this will continue to happen and will grow worse with time. But in the meantime, I'm quite sure the Orange Menace is looking at this mostly meaningless poll and beginning to ponder turning against DeSantis if the trend continues.